Good afternoon, everyone. And so today I am going to share with you the website I created using Google Sites. This is the project that I've been working on for the last few weeks. And so as you can see it here, let me expand this to full screen. Before I take you through the website, I just want to explain what this is a little bit. My name is Victor. I am in the Curriculum Design and Learning Technologies program, and I also currently work for the University of Minnesota Medical School in the Department of Emergency Medicine. This website that I built using, again, Google Sites is dedicated to simulation education in a medical education setting. So we'll just go through the site here, and I will also publish the link to the site if you all wish to check it out on your own. To begin with, this is the home page. It's a rather simple home page. The title here tells you what the website will be about. You get a little bit more information here about the purpose of this website. And the way that the website is structured is it's broken up into three different sections here: the simulation definition and history, the educational theories regarding medical simulation, and its efficacy in comparison to traditional lecture-based instruction. So again, the home page is rather simple. There is this nice simulation video here from Stanford Medical School that kind of sums up what simulation is in a nutshell, so I would certainly recommend watching that. And then once you're through with that, you can click here to go to the next section. The other thing that I did is for the sections regarding simulation definition and history and educational theories, I actually included a couple of quizzes at the end of each section, just so that the person who uses this website gets a little bit more out of it and maybe gets some more information ingrained into them. Flat Circle Designs is a fictional logo or company that I came up with. My favorite book is Watchmen, and so anyone who's ever read that book can probably tell that the black and yellow motif is very much inspired by that book. Flat Circle is a reference to the philosophy of eternal return, or that time is a flat circle and it's very cyclical. More than anything, I kind of just thought it was a very aesthetically pleasing design. And you can kind of see the black and yellow motif throughout the website. So let's go through the first section here. The simulation definition and history talks about what simulation is, and it's actually a rather broad definition. In short, simulation is anything that can be used to replicate clinical scenarios or clinical events in a real life setting. This section right here, the history, takes you through the history of medical simulation, which there is no real clear starting point. There's been medical simulation that goes as far back as the early 1900s and even thousands of years before that, but unofficially simulation started in the 1930s with flight simulators, which is what this video is about. And then eventually that evolved from flight simulators in the military to then CPR to the simulation as we see it today. This medical simulation timeline here gives you kind of a nifty checklist of the significant events within medical simulation. And then the rest of the section goes through the different types of simulation. I only included the three most common ones. Simulation, as you can imagine, is actually a very big world, but the three most common ones are standardized patients or actors, medical trainers, which are basically body parts, so prosthetic or mechanical arms, or mannequins, and then virtual patients. virtual patients and the use of virtual reality. So I tried to include as much video as I can, so this is not completely so text heavy, as well as examples here. So here's for example, a mechanical arm that students can practice intravenous injections, and then here's a high fidelity mannequin, which is often controlled by a sim jockey on the back end. For virtual reality, the department that I work for actually uses this company, Oxford Medical Simulations, where they use virtual reality and virtual patients to practice simulation. If you click this link right here, it'll also take you to a this is actually my capstone project for my degree, and you can actually run through a simulation yourself. I'll just quickly show it to you here. Basically walking through a kind of choose your own adventure story. This is part of a different project that I created, but you can feel free to run through a simulation yourself if you wish. And then at the end of the section, there is the section quiz on what is simulation. And so this is a quiz I built using a tool called H5P, which is an open source authoring tool that you can use to make quizzes and any other sort of learning activities that you'd like. I would highly recommend this tool because it's free. There are paid options for it in which you can use to embed to Canvas or any other sites, but the free version works very well. So here's a short little quiz that I created, which we can quick go through. It's only a few questions long. And here I just gave a wrong answer, and but if you get enough right or wrong answers, certainly it'll tell you to pass or to try again. So here, I'm not exactly sure if I got enough to pass. Here we go. This might tell me to try again, actually. Yeah, no, good work. So I try to include these formative quizzes at the end of the sections, again, just to kind of get the main points out of it. And certainly you can take the quiz and have the other page open as well. So move on to the next section here, which is the educational theories. In this section, I examine the actual educational theories that medical simulation is grounded in. So everything, obviously, with the idea is that everything that we do at the university within our department is grounded in theory and sound pedagogy. And so the three theories that I look at here are Bloom's taxonomy, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with, and if not, you're probably familiar with it now after this course. So this section goes over what Bloom's taxonomy is, and then how it relates to simulation. I won't go through all of this, just so that you have a chance to go through it yourself on the site, but basically simulation targets, if we're looking at Bloom's taxonomy, it targets evaluation, synthesis, and analysis in Bloom's pyramid. So it does target the higher ordered thinking skills, and it requires you to draw upon your existing knowledge and understanding and then apply it to the situation at hand. This will touch on Kolb's experiential learning cycle and the 4 different stages of effective learning according to David Kolb, and how that relates to simulation and how you often see that all 4 of these stages being completed in one simulation to the next, which is why it is not uncommon to watch students' performance improve from one simulation to the next, literally within minutes. And then I talk here a little bit about Gagne's 9 events of instruction, and how to, Robert Gagne and how he sequenced instruction for effective learning, again, relating it back to simulation and how you can see that often within one simulation. Then we have a little bit of a conclusion here. And again, we have a simulation theories quiz, again using H5P. I won't go through the whole thing, but you're welcome to go through that quiz just to get the main points of the section. Finally, we examine some of the actual studies that have been done on simulation. I looked at 2 particular studies. So prior to creating this website, I did a lit review of some of the important works in medical simulation, and I found these 2 pretty important studies that looked at medical residents that received simulation training and compared them to medical residents that didn't receive simulation training. One study looked at catheter-related bloodstream infections and found that the incidence rate of catheter infections dropped drastically when there was simulation intervention and compared to those that did not receive that simulation intervention. The second study that we looked at cardiac arrest teams' adherence to American Heart Association guidelines when responding to a cardiac event, such as a heart attack, and the results again were pretty stark. Those that received the simulation training adhered to the guidelines 68% of the time, in comparison to 44% of the time with those that did not receive the simulation intervention. So the care of the patients in both of these studies was significantly impacted, or the quality of care from those that received simulation in comparison to those who did not. So this section really serves to compare simulation versus traditional lecture-based education and kind of demonstrate its efficacy and, more importantly, the real-world application and the real-world consequences of having a superior form of education. I did not provide a quiz for this one. I felt like this section was more so comparing and contrasting the data, and the purpose of this site is not so much to test the knowledge of that someone has on simulation education, but mostly to get an introduction and a feel to why it's so important. I do provide a reading list here, and this is actually the list that I use to create or to write my lit review, and this is where I pulled the information to create this website. So this also serves as a handy reading list for anyone that might be interested in learning more about simulation, but also it's a good way to showcase my work and to show that I'm not simply pulling these numbers out of thin air. So that is my simulation website. Like I said, I will be making this website public so that you can all see it. And I hope you will all go through it, and I certainly welcome feedback. Thank you all, and I hope you have a wonderful day.